Hey there. It's me, Eden. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to my channel and visit my Patreon page for early access, link in the comment, thanks. Thursday, July 3rd. Roberta giggled violently when we gave her the earrings. They're beautiful. I think. When we promised to make her more, I couldn't tell if she looked more happy or frightened. She modeled them graciously. Her mom thanked us for our special attention. Roberta was doing a little better, she thought, but they still had to monitor her closely. Last spring's surgery helped some, but didn't solve the problem. Likely, she would be on a heart transplant list in another year or two. Sarah's stump was a bit better, so they worked on making her leg a better fit. Not much walking, but she was able to wear it part of the time the rest of the day. Some more casualties on the hair front. After I brushed her hair, I tied it back with the green ribbon, and tried to hide how much hair I pulled out of the brush. She has such thick hair, that maybe the chemo wouldn't take it all. With Sarah napping, I went to talk with Billy Yates. It's getting about that time, he nodded. Hard to tell how long this will last. Sometimes, with some people, with some medicine, it all comes out at once. With others, it takes several days. With others, it just thins out a lot, and gets kind of wispy looking. But I think it's time I show you a few things. I followed Bill to a cabinet. We keep a set of clippers in here. When it gets too thin, it's easier just to cut the rest off. They usually decide they want it that way, rather than waiting for the inevitable. And in this closet, we keep Tata hair. These are wigs that people have donated. A lot of them are cheap and ugly, but since there aren't that many girls here with cancer right now, Sarah could take her pick. Here's one I like, he said, pulling out and putting on a big hair, curly red one. Don't you think I look like Reba? He grinned. He modeled a few others, including one he called the Pulp Fiction. He flopped down on the couch wearing the short bob, and said in a sultry voice, Mom won't let me smoke. She says it causes cancer. I was laughing hysterically, and so were some of the other kids who had come in for Bill's show. Billy looked at me. What was kind of neat the last time I lost my hair was that a friend of mine shaved his off to keep me company. I'm not that uncomfortable being this way, but I thought that was kind of neat. That evening, Sarah was able to eat a little bit. She told the aides that she thought she felt better and could probably bathe alone tonight. I sat down to read my Star Trek book. After a long soaking, I heard her call softly, Annie. I answered through the door. I think I need your help. We had agreed to be modest in getting dressed or undressed, just to help keep our hormone situation under control. So I walked into the bathroom and saw her naked, laying in the tub. I couldn't help but catch my breath. She was beautiful. I told her so. My little problem with bilateral symmetry notwithstanding, she chuckled softly. I'm sorry, Annie, but I need you to help me up. I'm weaker than I thought. I stooped to use a lift method I had learned, where she put her arms around my neck and I stood up. Only this time, she didn't have any clothes on, and I was only in my underwear and nightgown. Raging hormones. I pressed her close to me, and began kissing passionately. For a while she kissed back, and then pushed back. I was afraid she might topple backward into the tub, but I helped her regain her balance. Sarah looked frightened. Please, Mark. Let me sit here on the toilet, and bring me a nightgown. Meekly, I did so. Mark, you need to be Annie. Please be Annie for me, okay, she pleaded. I love you, and I want you just like you want me, but it's just too risky in a whole lot of ways. I'm frightened to death we'll be caught and you'll be thrown out, and I'll be all alone. I'm frightened for my own feelings. So please, be my Annie now, okay? I closed my eyes and silently nodded. I was frightened, too. She was way too vulnerable, and so was I. I had been so close to plunging ahead and making love to her, really, whether she wanted to or not. We cried a lot. Friday, July 4th, Saturday, July 5th, Sunday, July 6th. It's a holiday. For Sarah and me, that meant chemo in the morning instead of the afternoon, no PT, and a quick check with the docs, who assured us that her last round of tests looked good. If she continued to check out so well, they said, the second round of chemo in late fall would be much milder, could be given back home, and could be her last. Great news! Most of the kids, except for the more seriously ill ones, were leaving Hope Haven for the long weekend. We were no exception. Kevin had given me some instructions on ways to help Sarah in her rehab efforts while we were gone. We weren't going home, though. Our two sets of parents had rented a double cabin in a state park up in the mountains. They had already picked up Julie. Although Sarah had hoped to go home, the long trip seemed strenuous, and we didn't want to be that far away in case she felt worse. Also, we agreed that too many Julys wandering around Fort Russell might create some suspicion. Before we left Hope Haven, we told the rest of them about the hair loss. Sarah's hair was still as thick as a normal person's hair, but, frankly, she was shedding a bit more rapidly every time we brushed, and even sometimes when we didn't. We stopped at a wig shop that the hospital social worker had recommended, but they said we should come back later, when Sarah had lost more hair, to make sure of a proper fit. We looked at a few styles, and left for the hills. Julie's next basketball camp didn't start until Tuesday, so she volunteered to stay over at a motel Sunday night and meet us at the wig shop late Monday morning, after therapy. Then we could have lunch together, Julie could hide away at the motel until after chemo, and I would run her back over to Westlands. The trip to the mountains was great. I wore Julie's Banana Republic outfit that she had worn the day she proposed the idea to me. I wondered if she'd notice. I did. It was cool enough when I got there, that I had to change into jeans, though. Since Sarah could spend time with her parents, my dad and I backpacked into a wilderness camp for Saturday night. It was great stress relief, and probably the only real big father-daughter event I will ever get to do with him. I was actually wearing some of my guy clothes that my folks had packed. My hairstyle and nails were all that would make others think I was a girl. On the trail, I could start acting like Mark again. That evening, as the freeze-dry supper was cooking, he did ask a bit nervously if I was looking forward to being Mark again. Sure, Dad, I smiled. Don't worry. We're more than halfway through my short life as Annie, and I'm sure as heck looking forward to being Mark. Actually, I think it's going to make me a better person having gone through all this. I know it's just made me love Sarah Beth all the more. Sarah slept a lot during the weekend at the cabin, but basically enjoyed herself. After the overnight, I noticed that her hair was a lot thinner. I remembered about the clippers that Billy had shown me, and figured that the day was coming soon. At a quiet time together in the mountains, I had told Sarah about my conversation with Billy about the clippers and the wig closet. I didn't want to push her, but when she was ready, I wanted her to know that I was, too. Before we left the campground, my two imams presented me with a present. It was a single-piece swimsuit, navy blue with white and red trim. It had a ruffled skirt that hid the bottom of the suit from view, and they had sewn some padding inside to help keep me from showing in unseemly places. Very clever, ladies, I admitted. But what about my face? If the makeup washes off, won't that be a problem? Well, you won't really be able to swim, face in the water and everything, but you're there to help with the physical therapy. Just tell them you have sinus problems and can't get your face wet. When you get back to the room, just hang it over the tub, and the padding will dry okay overnight. Sunday night, July 6th. After planting Julie at the motel, the rest of our families brought us back to Hope Haven in time for a light supper. Sarah Beth had been wearing a large scarf around her head, with a few wistful wisps of hair hanging out here and there. We went upstairs, and Sarah took off her scarf. You could see a lot of her scalp on top, and there were holes in the sides, as well. I guess it's time for the clippers. Okay. I'll go get them. A few minutes later, I was back with them. Sarah sat down on a wooden chair and tucked a towel around her shirt. I plugged in the clippers. Ready?
Yeah.
Go for it. I popped the switch and slowly started working my way up the sides and back. It was amazing how little resistance there was. Then the few hairs left on top. She finally peeked in the bathroom mirror and grimaced, then gave a weak smile. No offense, Annie, but I don't think I want you to be my regular hairstylist when this is all over. Actually, I'm glad it was you that did it. And it does look a little better. Sort of. Maybe. She tied the scarf back around her head. I'm no Amanda, she smiled. It'll make trying on wigs tomorrow easier, anyway. I thought Sarah would want to stay in the room that evening. It surprised me a little when she offered to go downstairs with me. She thought she might catch a little television in the living room. I rolled her to the elevator, and when we got out, Billy and some of the other kids and parents glanced over at us. I still had the clippers in my hand. Guess you know what we've been doing, huh? She said, with a little smile. I was about to put the clippers in the drawer, when suddenly I said, wait a minute. I have an idea. Billy, go get a sheet from the linen closet. He did. Spread it out on the floor, over here by the wall. He did. I plopped a chair down on the sheet, sat down, plugged in the clippers, and said, we're going to have a party. I like my sister's hairstyle so much that I want mine to look just like hers. I don't want her to be the only gorgeous bald chick around here. Sarah squealed at Annie, no. Her eyes widened. I'm the big sister, and I'll do what I want, I said smugly. Billy, do you want to start?
Yeah.
I guess, he grinned. Are you sure? Go for it. Billy wasn't going to give me a chance to change my mind. He started right down the middle. My blonde curls started falling down in front of my face. I asked Sarah to even it up a little. She moved the clippers around on the crown of my head, leaving the curly sides. Now you look like the clown you are, you silly goose, Sarah laughed. Maybe I should leave you that way. I pleaded for mercy and she finished the job. The sheet was covered with what used to be my hair. The gang laughed and hugged me, but there were no more volunteers for the clippers. Billy suggested that we three baldies model the wigs, and I was surprised when Sarah ripped off her scarf and agreed. This was the craziest moment since we had come to Hope Haven, with all three of us gasping in laughter, and being blondes, brunettes, and redheads. If they say that laughter heals, we could have all gone home that night. After a few minutes of it, though, I could tell that Sarah was exhausted, physically and emotionally. We went upstairs and giggled and cried some more. After a few minutes, I started kissing the top of her head, and then licking it. Annie, she squealed. Don't do that. Don't be like Amanda's weird boyfriend. Then she grinned. But maybe another time, when there's no one around. Finally, Sarah fell asleep. I had been in the habit of shaving before bed, just in case I had to go out into a dark hallway, no one would likely notice my whiskers. Tonight I did that, and I just kept going, clearing away the stubble the clippers had left behind all over my head. I wasn't as shiny bald as Billy or Sarah, but it was good enough. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access. Link in the comment. Thanks.